This is Althea, your host with She Vets It. Today, I have an incredible guest. I'm so excited because this individual that I have on, she is a logistic officer that transitioned from the Army to a trauma-informed yoga instructor. Hey
Hi,
there, welcome, welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the invitation. So happy to be here.
You are so welcome. So you are out there on the East Coast. How's the weather over there?
So Orlando, Florida is indistinctively cold because by now we should be warm and it's actually cold and windy. So I'm adjusting. I actually moved to Florida because of the weather. Moved from Colorado to Florida and the weather's got me here. So
Today we wanted to talk about trauma informed yoga. And we're not strangers. We've been in the same unit. We deployed together, and I definitely saw how you transitioned to yoga. And I think I've seen you from time to time. You were doing this for a while, so wasn't something new. And so I just wanted to just really dive into your journey.
So it's been 3.5 years now. So February will be my fourth year um, since I retired from the service after 21 years. It's been a very different transition than what I planned for. And it's also, you said you see me doing yoga for a while. And in fact, I did yoga when I was in the service too. But what I'm doing now is so much more than just yoga as the exercise, or like people like to say, oh, yoga is just stretching. There's just so much more to it than what I thought I was going to find. So here I am. So as I get closer to trying to decide what is it that I'm going to do when I get out of the service, I start having all this uncertainties, this sleeping disorders, this anxiety attacks that I was already getting. And I think it was because I was diving into the unknown. I left my home when I was a kid, 17, and here I am, 39. Have experienced so much, have met most of my friends are all military. My son's godmother is military, his dad, my husband. So it's like even my family is within that circle. So now I'm fearing, what is it that I'm gonna do next that will keep me? It's almost like I was leaving a safety nest. I was stepping out of my comfort zone. So um, that's when I said, well, what is it? How am I going to cope with this? So I ended up saying, my husband and I decided, I'm going to do nothing when I get out of the service. I'm going to stay home and I'm going to see what I can figure out from there. So I pretty much got out of the service thinking that I didn't have to do anything, that I wasn't going to do anything, and that I was going to be okay with that. We're just completely shutting down and becoming a homebody. But that wasn't the case. So yeah, so I get out of the service. I transitioned from going to from being in Germany with my husband. We PCS to Fort Carson, Colorado. And when I get there, again, I start having panic attacks. I'm having problems sleeping. Having nightmares that I never thought I would encounter. I'm having sadness for no reason. We call it for no reason, but the body keeps a score. So there is a reason. We just don't know because we haven't faced it yet. So
Mhm.
I'm facing all of the situations out of pattern, out of even my personality. We had just I had been married to my husband, my current husband, for about a year. We became with child, then we lost the pregnancy. So it was retirement,
Mhm.
miscarriage, moving, and it was COVID too. So I fell into a place not only out of comfort, but also under circumstances that I did not have the expectations that I was going to have to deal with.
We were talking about the book that the body keeps score with yoga, and how is that helpful for those that have experienced trauma and things maybe in the military or even outside of the military?
Yeah, so I will tell you that the book that you're referring to is a book that I had to actually read during my yoga training, my trauma informed training. And it's The Body Keeps a Score. The book talks about the somatic symptoms of trauma, what it leaves behind, and how the body reacts to it. But I can tell you that. So when I started practicing yoga, I was a runner in the army. So and when I mean running, not just running the 2 miles that you're supposed to, but rather, I was running 5Ks, 10Ks, marathons, half marathons. So that was the thing that kept my trauma actually, and I was under control. Is a bad word, but it actually kept my somatic symptoms in a good place, a functioning place. That is. So I spent 21 years
Mhm.
in the service from the age of 17 through 39. I didn't know I was a runner until I got to the army. The army had me running, so running I went. So at some point, I started having injuries. Physical injuries, that is. And I started doing hot yoga. Out of all things, probably the most uh, uncomfortable and complicated yoga of them all. Um, and I loved it. My injuries were, I was improving. What I was not catching on to was the state of mind that yoga was changing for me. And that was
Mhm.
closer to the time when I was trying to figure out if I wanted to retire, if I wanted to uh, keep going with the service. But I was like, I'm so young. Maybe I want to start a new career. Maybe I want to do something else. I didn't know it was yoga, though. At that point, I didn't know. I did not figure that out until about 2 years prior to my retirement, when I started having problems sleeping, handling stressful situations at work. Um, I was beginning to feel like I no longer belong. I was starting to feel like the service was now in a place that I could no longer. I mean, this is after 20 years, and I'm now starting to figure this feeling out. The I can't sleep. My eating patterns were horrible, and I think it was the closer I was getting to having to figure out what was next. Trauma informed yoga does it's not so much. It's not a cure. It's not
Mhm.
a replacement for your medication. It's not a replacement for the doctor's guidance. But what it is a complementary practice that can help you handle the the situations that come from your trauma, your headaches, your sleeping patterns, your stress, the day
Mhm.
to day things. So, building your resilience and knowing when you're getting there, you recognize it. Now I recognize it and I know where to go from here. Because two and
Mhm.
two is always going to be four, right? So, when that
Mhm.
four shows up, what are you going to do with that for? You're going to lose your mind. You're going
Mhm.
to have an anxiety attack. You're going
Mhm.
to be angry. You're going to be cold. You know that four just came, it showed up, and
Yes.
now you know how to handle it. So,
And I wanted to add something is for me, I had a lot of times I didn't know when I experienced the accident that made me actually face all the other things that I wasn't facing from, my service in time. And so it was like I always share with people, it was like being on a roller coaster, and the accident kind of made me stop, address
mhm.
everything that I had not ever addressed, and then really look at, peel away those things. And that's why I always encourage women veterans and women in general, or people in general, to go. It's okay to seek counseling. I thought it was going to be easy, but it isn't. And
No, it's
so
very challenging.
it is very challenging. It doesn't matter if you are a private or a commander. You could be a major, you could be a colonel. The psychological impact that it has on us, the fear of the unknown is that thing. And if all you knew was the military, it's like, oh wow. And life is different in the civilian world,
It certainly is.
versus And see, I did you got out at 39. I was crazy, the crazy one, and joined at 39.
You were brave, is what it was.
I don't know. It was nothing but God, because because once I got in and went to boot camp, I was like,
Uh,
oh my gosh, there's nothing but God that convinced me that it was okay for me to go. And then when I start seeing young girls breaking their hips, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm a goner. I'm
uh,
30. I'm like, oh Lord, it's over. But we played outside, so that's my help. My hips were in good shape because I played outside growing up. But
that's good. That's good.
but I wanted to say is that, and we talked earlier, we talked offline, but about when you plan for getting out the military, and let's say everything is just right and you planned
Hmm.
everything, what happens when you get injured? Like myself, that's a different, now you're adding a different layer to the, you're not the same, and the you go through that mourning process of the
Hmm.
old you versus who this new person is. What was yours like?
So, in terms of injuries, we have it, and I'm speaking from my place, from the me place. I got attached to the pain of injuries. Pain
Mm,
became part of me.
mhm,
Pain was simply something that was happening to me. It was a moment in time. It was an injury is not who you are. But once you
mhm,
start owning the pain, now that pain is causing you trauma because now it's
mhm,
affecting other places in your life. It's affecting your self-esteem. It's affecting your self-worth. It's saying,
mhm,
I can't do this because I have this injury. Well, it's a fact.
mhm,
So now we have to work around that. We work with the body we're given in the present,
mhm.
the body of today, not my
Yes,
17 body or
yeah.
my 23-year-old body, but my 43-year-old body. That's the body that I'm given.
Mhm,
That's the today. That's the present I'm living. So for me, an injury almost became that lack of self-worth. I'm
mhm,
not capable of doing this. I'm not capable.
mhm,
The pain will produce headaches. Well, I didn't have a head
mhm,
injury. I had other injuries.
mhm,
So why am I having a headache? Well, because I'm producing tension in my body from the
mhm.
stress of me being in pain. So
Yeah, that's the story of my life. Look, I thought I was going to have a migraine today, but thank you, God, that it didn't it didn't happen. Like you said, it's really like, I really describe when I share with someone, it's like mourning the old you. And until you can come to terms that, hey, like, I know the new me, I make mistakes, having the brain injury. Like you were so, thank you so much for your grace, by the way. You're like, Althea, you misspelled. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And so, I had to, before I used to beat myself up when I didn't do things right. And I didn't, I joined the military with my MBA and all this. And then now I get out, I got to have a system, or maybe I'm not, I don't do things quite the same. But I came to a point, and it took me some time. Like, it didn't happen overnight, but it took me some time. Like, Althea, give yourself grace. And I think that's what
mhm,
you told me in the
yeah.
text. You said, Althea, give yourself grace. But then I was like, well, if we can remember this, then I should be able to remember that. But you're like, give yourself grace.
Yeah, we have to. We have to be gentle to ourselves. We have the rest of the world to not have the perspective or of our situation. So,
Hmm.
given that, you can be treated in any kind of way, right? But you know
Hmm.
your own perspective. You know the place where you exist. So
Yeah.
why are we not gentle to ourselves? Why
Yes.
why are we not the person that treat us the best? So.
That part. That is, and someone said something to me one day. They said, well, two things that really helped me to detach from the military. And I only did 8 years. I didn't do 20 years, but after times you create this habit. and of waking up, and we're creatures of habit, so we like to be able to predict life and how things are going to go. But they said, Althea, you do know you weren't going to be in the military forever. And I said,
Absolutely.
"Ooh, I never thought about that."
Hmm.
So that allowed me to ungrasp my idea of, man, I should still be in the military, but this injury. But at some point, I was going to transition. So I always say to people, is that just know that one day you are going to leave, and already have in your mind, what is that going to look like? What is that new chapter? It's an opportunity to, like, what did I always want to do after the military? I can now
Yeah.
create a new chapter in my life. Is that something that, what was that point that made you think, you know what, it's time for me to let go of the thought of the military, being in the military, this is my new life?
Well, remember that we're taught in the service to be committed, to be dedicated, to be disciplined. To I always remember this phrase that I had a mentor. He used to say it a lot: pride of ownership. So you own the things you do; they're yours. So at some point, the military now becomes your personality. And we have to
Yes.
remember your career is what you do, it's not who
Mm,
you are.
that
So
part.
in the service, you learn to impersonate what you're doing because you feel like that is, they teach you a set of values, they teach you a set of principles. So yeah, you impersonate being in the
Yes.
military, you impersonate your career. You want to be the whole soldier concept, right? So how do we let go of that when we get ready to leave if we're no longer in the service? So did I lose my personality, or did I just open a door to reinvent myself? So that's how I
Mm,
had to see it. I had to reinvent myself. I think we said
yes.
that earlier. Anything from like hearing people calling me by my first name outside of the other officers, but hearing
Mhm.
people truly concerned about how to spell my name, my first name, because mm, truly Chief Asencio was just what I was used to hearing. And interestingly enough, if I would hear my first name, sometimes it'll take me, I was having time lapses sometimes. Yeah, it's funny as it sounds, I was having time lapses for a while. So yeah.
Wow, wow. I'm so glad we're having this conversation, and more so because we shared a journey, a short time, a journey together, and just that transition, and we transitioned different. We joined the military, and it's from a different, like you came in younger, getting out, and I came in older, getting out, and as I shared with you and those that are new to listening to She Vets It, is I always like to use this space for those that are to be inspired that there is life outside the military. So many times we get stuck. Like, oh, that. And even with me, I don't think I was stuck so much in the military in the point of, you know, going in the military, having the degree, and then experience a traumatic brain injury and not functioning. I don't say I have a disability, I say I have a different ability. It didn't necessarily take my intelligence, but I have to process things totally different. And so I said, okay, use what you have. And so, before the military, um, I used to run a chamber of commerce and bringing people together. And I was like, oh, I could do that. I still have the ability to do that. It's like the pain. It's like the guy, the amputee who doesn't have the arm and he may have just the leg and he paints. He uses what he has. This is my next point, talking about the study and the things that you do, because it's not just yoga, but
Hmm.
explain to them what yoga is and what it's not, and what you're doing at the university.
Okay, so I'm doing several things actually. So it started with my own journey, right? With my own healing process. And I started going to yoga at a nonprofit organization that went to the VA to do yoga for veterans. So the nonprofit helped me heal my symptoms, but I was trying to figure out how do I share this gift that I now have. This shift, the shift of now going from practicing yoga to teaching yoga. I kept saying, I think I can do this. So they had a scholarship program in which they will pay for your yoga training and eventually employ you. So I was granted the scholarship, and the one of the stipulations was we prefer to hire or give scholarships to those who have the intentions to go to a trauma informed yoga training. To me, that was foreign language. I was like, yoga, but yoga is yoga. Yoga is, warrior one and two and downward facing dog and all this other stuff. Even though I
Mhm.
had already been practicing and I knew that it was changing me, that it was helping me with a lot of my, it was improving my mental health, it was improving my resiliency and the way I started seeing things on the outside. So I wanted to do the same for other people. So I went through training. Training itself was a journey. It completely changed my life. And I have to tell you, without giving you details, that yoga saved my life. I am here
Mhm.
speaking to you
Mhm.
today because yoga gave me the tools necessary to support the resilience I needed for the symptoms of my trauma.
Mm.
So I wanted to do that for other people. So I graduated, started. It was during COVID too, so it became much more difficult to provide that the yoga for other people. So we started doing YouTube online, which I still teach every Friday. I teach a lot of people in Denver, Colorado Springs, and sometimes I have people from other countries join me because it's free access to veterans, active duty, family members, whoever wants to join us. Um, then I came to Florida. So when I got here to Florida, I was looking for jobs because I decided, well, I was healthy enough now, I was stable enough to try to find a job outside of teaching yoga. And I decided, let me go apply for jobs. I did not know it was going to be so difficult to take my military resume and try to translate it into a resume that appealed to the rest of our society.
Mm.
That can be a challenge in itself. I did not want a government job. I did not want to do what I was doing before because in my heart, I felt that I had something else to give. And I was having a hard time finding a job. So one day I get a call from the University of Central Florida College of Medicine, and they're looking for a research assistant for a grant. I did not know what the grant was about. I went to my interview, and they wanted to do another interview with one of the investigators of the grant. When she briefed me about the content of the grant, she said, we're trying to build a system, an academic program that will teach medical students how to deal or how to improve their resiliency um, for their mental health. And immediately that just it did something to me. I said, resiliency, what this was meant to be. This stage was actually like uh, build for what I was looking for. And I said, well, this is a great opportunity. So I accepted the job. Um, we have an interprofessional staff, anything from psychologists to nurses, medical education, nutrition, social workers. So they all contributed to one module in that course. Each one of those modules have a mental health or wellness course. There was one missing. And my boss, even though I was the research assistant, asked me, so what do you think? We're doing this investigation. So she said, what do you think? I was like, have you thought about yoga? And she said, well, I don't believe in yoga. I think it's not something that can be proven. It's not. been proven medically. These are doctors, and you have to prove to doctors through tests and all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of stuff to be
The
able to say, okay,
numbers.
this is evidence-based information that can be applied in the field. I said, well, let's go for it. Let's start doing the investigation. And lo and behold, she practices yoga now. You know why? Because we did enough investigation. We found enough evidence-based information to prove that yoga can be complementary of traditional medicine to help you build resiliency, not only just for healthcare workers, which is the case, but also for the rest of society. Now, that opportunity was given to me. I became the author for one of the modules, Building Resiliency for Healthcare Workers. I also wrote an abstract to the International Association of Yoga Therapists. So I was invited to present my poster with the results of the investigations we did. We had 10 interventions, but since yoga was one of them, I had the opportunity to present it at one of the biggest yoga schools in the United States, Kripalu. So that was a dream for me. I used to dream of going to that
Nice.
place. And I actually went, invited, and went to the conference, presented my poster. And the poster was a success. The abstract made it into the Journal of Yoga Therapy. So I am officially an author.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm super excited because I feel like this journey, even though it's been a bit complicated and it's cost me to face my trauma, it's cost me to
Mhm.
resolve my trauma, to identify how I
Mhm.
can help other people.
Mhm.
Furthermore, I had the opportunity to now I teach at two VAs. Here in Orlando, part of the Orlando VA health system. I teach at Lake Nona and I teach at Lake Baldwin. I teach trauma informed yoga, gentle yoga and meditation. And I have classes of 25 veterans, anything from a 20-year-old to a 60, 70-year-old. And to see the change in them physically and socially and how excited they are to be there, to build community, to know that they have a place to come where they can relax. I have veterans telling me this is the only place I can relax. Or I got
Oh,
here, my back was hurting, and now I leave, but my back doesn't hurt. Like
okay.
what?
I need you. I need you here, out here in Texas. Oh my good. Look, I needed you this week. We have to let me know whenever you want. I would love to have do a online
Yeah.
something. Like I might, yeah, I would love to do something with you more. And I was telling you, we're doing something out in here in Texas for Women's Veterans Day. But here's the thing, what I hear you say and what I find to have been very helpful for me in my journey is that helping and serving others. I think that's the outside, everything is good, but when you start helping and changing lives and serving others, I think that gets you out of your own head. I don't know. I can
Well,
only speak for myself. It gets
yeah.
me out of
So
my own head when I am serving and helping because you realize that there's people, they're counting on you to show up.
So they're counting on me to show up. They're counting on me to almost. So when you mention service, one of the yoga philosophies include your behavior towards others. You know, your that sense of service that I learned in the military, as a matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
was one of my leading points to this journey that I've embarked in. The sense of service never left. I always had that value. So now I'm serving people in another capacity, but I'm still doing that. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't detach yourself so far from it. You still hold on to a little bit of things that you learn here and there. And
Mm-hmm.
gracefully, I believe that serving others is a form of self love. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I actually go and I teach the gentle yoga. And when I leave, I realized that that day I probably needed more than the people that I actually taught. Both classes that I teach at the VA are part of my volunteer service. And I mean, I still get people that tell me, like, why don't you have a business? Why don't you? I just feel like I'm not there yet. Well, that's one of my dreams eventually. So I start in the fall, I start my master's degree in yoga therapy. I feel like there's a lot more that I need to learn before I embark in a different aspect of it. But for now, I'm truly happy volunteering my time to especially veterans because they're the people that we relate to. They're also the people that you feel community with. Um, and the fact that I'm there 3 4 times a week, it's also given me a chance to take care of myself while serving others. And my other job at the university um, is my actual employment, but it's given me an opportunity that I did not understand was going to be a venue for to support my the rest of my yoga journey. So super excited. I feel like there's a connection between intention and opportunity. There's just it was meant to be. The fact that I couldn't find a job elsewhere in the big corporations in the DoD system, it was gracefully what I was supposed to be encountering. That I
Yes,
wouldn't have those jobs because how else would I be here?
yes, and you know what? I think when we are where we're supposed to be, those divine connections happen,
Hmm.
and you don't even have to work hard for it because, just showing up and being where you're supposed to be,
Hmm.
God has a way of bringing like the right opportunities for you.
Hmm.
You doing the study and getting connected and all that. That is where you're supposed to be. I'm so happy for you. What kind of advice would you, as we are, about to wrap up, but what advice would you give to someone right now who's about to transition or someone who has transitioned and are struggling? What advice would you give them as they are really considering what that next chapter would be?
So it's there's so much advice that I could give, but but I'm going to tell you this. Maybe this won't be it might be advice a little hard to understand, but during my retirement speech, my last sentence was, now I can be a better woman. Now I can be a better mother, a better wife, a better aunt, a better daughter, because I thought that all I needed was time. And what I failed to realize was that what I needed to be was a better person for myself, that I needed to have better resiliency, that I needed to have better health, that I needed to take care of myself first so that I could be a better everything else.
Yes.
So take care of yourself, take care of your medical stuff, take care of your family. They're always going to be there. They're permanent. But taking care of our mental health is so important. So that's one advice I can give is to, in order for you to be better for everybody else, time is not the only thing you need. Time is always going to be there. Time is always going to come. It's there. It's a matter of the universe. But if you're not in the right state of mind, if you're not stable, if you're not healthy enough, then you can't be a better anything for anybody.
That part. So what
Yeah.
I hear you saying is reclaim your time. When you get out the military, you can reclaim your time. You
Hmm.
can figure out, who am I? What do I like to
Hmm.
do? Like, you know what?
Yeah.
I like to wear polish. You know what? Today I still wear my hair in a ponytail and I got to stop. But I wear it because, in the military, we had to keep our hair. Look at you, you have your hair down. We had to keep our
Yeah.
hair simple. Or maybe I don't wear makeup like everyone else, or look, my nails. I don't have nails. Sometimes I wear it, sometimes I don't. But I try to move freely in who I am. And like you
Hmm.
said, sometimes I'd say go on a lunch date with yourself. Go places by yourself, enjoy yourself, figure out who you are in this chapter. It's okay to cry about this or that, figure out who it is that you are. Because a lot
Mhm.
of times as mothers, whether you're in the military or not, but as women, as mothers, we can lose ourselves.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
can lose ourselves because we give up so many parts of ourselves. And I didn't realize after my injury, I had no boundaries. But
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
had to have boundaries because I had physical situations, um, overstimulation, certain things. I needed to set up boundaries because if I didn't set
Mhm.
up boundaries, that means I was going to have migraines. That means I was going to get sick. That means I was going to have issues. And so I had to be able to tell people, I can't do that. This is too much. I have to, hey, nope, I need that for me. So I didn't realize getting out the military and what the military has taught me um, was, oh wow, I didn't have enough boundaries to support me getting out the military, and especially getting out with an injury. So
Mhm.
definitely act like you said, reclaim your time, figure out who you are. What do you need? Not what everybody else need. What do you need? What is it going to take for you to transition to do the things that you want to do, and then prioritize all those things, the family, everything else, because if you can't pour into yourself, you cannot pour into anybody else.
That's right. Yeah. And then realizing that slowing down, it's okay. That slowing down is not that you're old. Slowing down is not that you're useless. Slowing down means that you're recharging your batteries, that you're transitioning into a different form of life, and that there is life after the military, that the military is your career. And you can pick up another career because you didn't end. What ended was the career itself. It was a brief moment in time, and that everything that happens to us is an event. It's not us. It's not our personality. It's just what happened, and just keeping things in their places. This is my 43-year-old today, and that 17-year-old girl that used to run marathons, and it's not here anymore. And what I have is a better person here, or another version of me, and it takes a lot to realize that. I mean, it wasn't up until maybe last year where I was still trying to figure out why my certain running shoes wouldn't fit, or my certain, running pants wouldn't fit. I'm like, I'm 43 years old. I just need to go get a different version. That's all.
Well, look, I was so tickled when you said, oh, I just, you had that desire to run 10 miles because you were so used to it. I said, well, that part I can't relate to. I said, I don't think I had a desire to run 10 miles while I was out, but I definitely, I definitely during the COVID, I enjoyed going out and being out there, and yeah, taking care of myself. But
Hmm.
because as you get older, I always say the military speeds up the aging process, accelerates the aging process, and your knees, your back, and all these different things. But I just want to thank you so much
Thank
first for your
you.
service, for all that you're doing for a veteran, because I always say when you help one veteran, you help a family, and as a
Hmm.
result, you're helping a community. So the lives that you're touching there, teaching them how to use yoga to transform their lives, to help them be resilient. Because, like you said, we're not going to, it doesn't mean things go away. Like I deal with things better now, but it's not that it's going to go away. But we
Hmm.
have the tools to use
Cool.
to kind of to cope. And so we
Hmm.
have to go through. It's kind of like going through a storm. The storm will
Yeah.
come. The triggers are the storms that come through, and there's going to be sunny days, and then the triggers are like that storm, the thunder and the lightning that come through, and we have shelter. So as long as we're
Hmm.
in shelter, we'll get through and know that there's tomorrow the sun is going to come out. And so
Yeah.
that is the thing that I pretty much hear from you, is that it may not cure anything, but it definitely can help you cope.
Absolutely. You can't stop the rain, but there's raincoats, there's rain boots, there's your house, there's just so many
Right?
measures. So once you learn to identify those measures and those coping mechanisms, then yeah, you become a better you become a better you to others. So now, not back then when I thought that time is all I needed, now I can be a better mom, now I can be a better wife, and all of that other better that I wanted to be. So
Well, again, I'm so happy you came here, and we can follow you at Margarita's Yoga. So I definitely will make sure that I have that in the caption so those that want to follow you, and let us know if you have any type of event that you have coming up. Let me know. We could put it on our resource page. Definitely want to share that with our community. Again, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for all the things that you're doing. And it is just, you're just pretty much getting started, but you are definitely, there is so much more. So I'm so excited for you. But thank you again for coming on. She Vets It. And for those that are following, thank you again for tuning in. Appreciate you and look forward to another episode of She Vets It. Thanks.
bye.